and welcome to the Dynamic Duel podcast, a weekly show where we review superhero films and debate the superiority between Marvel and DC by comparing their characters in stat-based battle simulations. I'm Marvelous Joe.
And I'm his twin brother, Johnny DC.
And on this episode, we are going to find out who would win in a fight between the two multiversal characters, the Batman Who Laughs and Cosmic Ghost Rider. If you guys don't know who these characters are, they were both recently introduced within the comic books. They're both insanely badass, insanely powerful. It's going to be a good time.
Yeah, this is going to be super metal. We actually rarely do characters that are this new in the comics, but these two characters were chosen specifically by our executive producers as a tie-in match to Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, since they're from the multiverse, and we're kind of just getting around to it now.
Yeah, we're going to go over the characters' backstories and abilities before speculating on how a match between those two would play out before we run simulations on their stats that reveal who would actually win. Before that, we're going to get into the comic book movie news from the past week. Just DC news this time, but we're going to discuss how DC has been set up as its own production studio under Warner Brothers Discovery, and we're going to talk about the first trailer for the Gotham Knights shit show.
As always, we list our segment times in our episode description, so feel free to check out the show notes if you want to skip ahead to a particular topic.
Real quick, guys, again, don't forget to join us on Patreon, where we offer ad-free episodes of this show via custom RSS feed, bonus content, including top 10 episodes and bloopers, monthly live movie watch-alongs, and access to our Discord chat server. Check it out right after this episode at patreon.com/dynamicduel, which is linked in our show notes. Our lowest tier is only $2 a month, and it's only $10 a month if you want to be an executive producer of this show and help us determine what content we produce.
Yeah, we'd like to give a special thank you to our newest patron, Brent Butts. We really appreciate you joining up.
But with that out of the way,
quick, to the No Prize. A No Prize is an award that Marvel used to give out up until the 90s to fans. Our version, the Dynamic Duel No Prize, is a digital award that we post on Instagram for the person that we feel gave the best answer to our question of the week. Last week's question tied into the reveal of Christian Bale as Gore the God Butcher in the Thor Love and Thunder trailer. He looked really cool, so we asked, who is the coolest looking villain in a Marvel or DC film, and why?
Yeah, we got a lot of great answers for this question, so let's go ahead and run down our honorable mentions as well as the No Prize winner. Our first honorable mention goes to Lou, who said,
"Hey, this is Lou, question of the week. I think a lot of people are going to say Joker, but I got to go with Abomination. His CGI was amazing, and it looked like he could go toe-to-toe with the Hulk. So, yeah, Abomination."
Yeah, Corey Wooten gave that answer as well, which was kind of a surprising coincidence. But yeah, the Abomination was really cool looking, kind of like how he had his skeleton on the outside of his body a little bit.
Yeah.
A really great character design. It'll be really cool to see him again in the upcoming She-Hulk Attorney at Law television series.
And of course, that design is updated for the MCU, though. He has the actual signature fins on the side of his face that was missing from the Incredible Hulk.
Right.
I actually like that design more. It still keeps the badassery with some more comic faithfulness.
Yeah, it looks good.
Yeah, thanks, Lou, for sending in the answer. Our next honorable mention goes to AJ Dunkerley, who said,
"What's up, guys? It's AJ, back from the dead. So, my favorite looking villain in a Marvel or DC movie has to be Deathstroke from the Justice League. Either Snyder Cut or Whedon Cut. I don't care what you choose. But first off, he looked dope as fuck, and they wasted him so badly, and I'm so pissed we're never going to get a Batman versus Deathstroke movie. Thanks."
The Batman film that was supposed to come from Ben Affleck that was going to have Deathstroke as the villain is probably one of the most heartbreaking film cancellations that will ever exist. In part because Joe Manganiello looked like he was going to make a really badass Deathstroke.
Yeah, that costume was really cool looking. It would have looked amazing in action, which was a point that other listener, Jacob Bell, called in with. He also gave Deathstroke as his answer.
I feel like the Deathstroke costume shouldn't work, but whenever you see it in action, it totally does. It is the coolest thing.
Yeah, it's a little bit too colorful for a ninja character, but he's just so badass at being a ninja, it doesn't matter that he has all the orange and blue.
Yeah, totally. He pulls it off. Our final honorable mention goes to Wilf Wright, who said,
"Hello, Dynamic Duel. I think it is. I'm so sorry for the answer, but my answer to the question of the week is Riot from Venom. I love your show. It's amazing. And I love Wyatt from Venom because I think with the red and the metallic gold and kind of the long face and all the weapons and stuff, I think it just looks really, really cool. Especially like when he's like climbing up the thing and he like takes out all the people. I just think he's like probably the most badass character.
Remember, everyone, to take a deep breath before you give your answer to the question of the week.
Yeah, breathe. It does all need to come out in one breath.
But great answer, Wolf Wright. Yeah, Riot looks pretty cool. I don't remember any metallic gold, but I do remember like subtle red veining throughout his like silvery symbiote look. It was pretty badass. I like the way they designed Riot to be much more sinister looking than Venom, who was already so sinister looking in that 2018 movie.
Yeah, and we've said before that Venom has like one of the coolest aesthetics for a comic book character ever. So it's only natural for his villains, who are kind of modeled after his look, to also be really cool looking.
Great answer, Wolf Wright. We want to give a big thanks to Jacob Bell and Corey Wooten, who also called in with their answers. Thank you for taking the time to do that. We appreciate it. But the winner of this week's Snow Prize is Eric Mizell, who said,
"Hey guys, this is Eric from Denver, and by far the coolest looking villain in any DC or Marvel movie is definitely the Cheetah from Wonder Woman 84. Just kidding. It's the Joker from The Dark Knight. The costume is incredibly simple, but genuinely creepy. He didn't need any CGI to be terrible and somehow makes wearing a purple suit look cool."
You definitely threw me with the Cheetah answer. I literally was like, what, when I first heard that. But no, the Joker, Heath Ledger's Joker, I still remember the first image that they released of him as the Joker, just his face and the rest of him was in shadow. I was totally apprehensive. Was not like a fan of that look until like the first trailer, I think. Once we saw him completely like raggedy and just like the tone that they were going for with him, I was definitely sold. And of course, Heath Ledger's performance definitely helped sell the look of the Joker.
Yeah, it wasn't a look that was true to the comic books, but it was still very in fitting with the character and very unique.
Yeah, because usually you think of the Joker being very dapper and clean cut, right?
Yeah.
This was the first time we kind of saw him look really like ragged, right?
And it still kind of worked.
Totally.
It added to like the insanity of the character, I think.
For sure.
Congrats again to Eric Mizell for winning this week's No Prize. If you, the listener, want a shot at winning your own No Prize, stay tuned to later on this episode when we'll be asking another question of the week. But now that that's done,
on to the news. Okay, in what is probably one of the biggest news items ever for DC films, it was announced last week in the trades that David Zaslav is restructuring the film divisions under Warner Brothers Discovery into three main categories. There's Warner Brothers Pictures / New Line, Warner Brothers Animation, and finally a DC-based film production studio, which has yet to be officially named.
That's huge.
That's huge. Insanely huge. I complain that Marvel copies DC all the time. Clearly, though, this is Warner Brothers taking note of what Disney has done with their studios, making Marvel its own division along with Star Wars and things like that. And I'm totally fine with us ripping off Disney and Marvel because clearly it's a strategy and approach to making films that works.
It's a great creative strategy, right? Because the universes of Marvel and DC are so vast and the fan base is so rabid, I guess, for lack of a better term. You want to get things right in order to get the greatest return on your investment when making these films. There's so much potential for a return on these films, as Marvel Studios has shown. They're cranking out billion-dollar movies on the regs. DC needs to be doing the same thing, even though they never can because their characters suck. But they can at least try,
We've hit the $1 billion club a number of times, specifically including most recently the Joker film, which is, objectively the most successful comic book film ever made and was directed by Todd Phillips.
Was profitable.
Profitable, critically acclaimed, award-winning, you name it. And Zaslav has obviously taken note of that because he apparently has become buddy-buddy with Todd Phillips and has appointed him as an advisor or consultant on DC films going forward, which is huge. It's huge. Right now, he's the closest thing we have to a Kevin Feige. Even though he's not going to be served in an executive capacity or in an executive role, he's still going to be directing the future of DC films.
It seems strange to have him as the Kevin Feige of the DC universe, though. It almost seems like you want some kind of hotshot producer calling things over there, as opposed to just this consultant.
which, I'm sure is coming. The head of the new DC studio will be producing these films.
But they need to be a fan of the DC universe in the same way that Kevin Feige is a fan of the Marvel universe. And I'm having trouble thinking of anybody who's a DC fan.
The problem with figuring out who's going to be the head of this division is that Kevin Feige is such a rare breed in Hollywood in that not only is he a producer, but he's also a creative of sorts. And most creatives in Hollywood all want to be directors, like all of them. Kevin Feige clearly doesn't. He wants to hire directors to tell the story that he wants to be told. Who that is for the DC universe, I have no idea. It's probably going to be a name that we've never heard of before. But if they do just hire, a producer executive who's not really creative, at least they have Todd Phillips to fall back on because he is definitely a creative guy. He is a filmmaker, he's a director, he's a writer, he's a producer, he does it all. The only person I could really think of that would be perfect for the role of the head of DC Films Studio would be me. Like, please. I can do it.
You could be the next Kevin Feige?
Fuck yes!
All you got to do is just learn how to produce movies and then, go from there.
Exactly. How hard could it be? You just give them money. Tell them what to do. I could do it. I could do that.
All right, you heard him, Zaslav. Get Jonathan on the job.
Please. I'm really excited by the things that Zaslav is doing with Warner Brothers. I think even outside of the DC Films division, just with Warner Brothers Pictures, the movers and shakers, he's being put in executive positions. Super exciting.
And hopefully this ushers in a brand new era of good DC films.
Yeah, I doubt we'll really understand the direction that they want to take DC films in this year. We probably won't learn until maybe next year. But it's a start.
And to counter that good news, on the flip side of the coin, we got the first trailer for Gotham Knights this past week.
So yes, Gotham Knights, if you haven't heard, is a TV show that will be made for the CW. And it's really going to be the last DC show standing after Legends of Tomorrow and Flash and everything else, has been canceled. The premise of the show is that Batman has died and his son, Turner, an original character, sort of has to team up with some of Batman's villains' children to protect Gotham after Batman's death. It's a weird premise. I hate it. And I hated the trailer for it. It was a long trailer. I feel I got almost the entire gist of the pilot just from this trailer. And I'm already nah, bud, I'll pass.
It looked like hot garbage. Why the hell does Batman have a kid named Turner who doesn't know his secret identity?
If anyone's wondering why this is getting made, essentially it's because Warner Brothers Discovery is pulling out of the broadcast television game. They're essentially selling their half of CW, and they're taking their shows with them, presumably so that they can make their own content for HBO Max. It kind of seems like Warner Brothers and CW are breaking up, and CW is you can't just leave me here alone. And Warner Brothers is you could have this Batman show. But it's the least recognizable and made up Batman characters ever. Joker's daughter, Carrie Kelly from The Dark Knight Returns as Joker. She's in this apparently. And it's I don't know. When we see Carrie Kelly and Turner's oh, you knew my dad was Batman. And she's yeah, he used to call me his little Robin. I was
it's creepy as fuck.
Super creepy. I'm not a big fan of Batman giving his proteges pet names. The moniker Robin was made by Dick Grayson. It wasn't because Batman was oh, you're my little Robin, Dick.
So basically the show is DC's table scraps that they're throwing to CW as they head out.
Oh, yeah, exactly. It's just really weird. Harvey Dent isn't Two-Face in this. Apparently, he's still Harvey Dent. So it almost has a Gotham kind of vibe there where maybe certain villains aren't villainous yet and we'll see their rise to villainy.
Which means that this version of Batman never had a Two-Face to contend with.
Which sucks. I'm just going to say it sucks. And speaking of Batman, the cowl that is revealed when Turner's exploring the Batcave looks like it was bought from a dollar store. It's a Halloween mask. It is the worst piece of shit I've ever seen.
It's so interesting that we get a lot of these Batman adjacent shows, such as Gotham, Batwoman, the former Birds of Prey, all these shows that kind of revolve around the world of Batman without actually having a Batman television show. I actually think a Batman television show in the vein of what they're doing now with Superman and Lois would be fantastic. But you get all these weird side and made up characters for the Dark Knight side of things for TV.
Yeah, I never quite understood why we've never had a Batman TV show since, like, the Adam West version, back in the 60s. We've had Superman and Lois. We've had Lois and Clark. We've had the George Reeves Superman show. We've had so many Superman TV shows, and I don't get why they don't do the same for Batman.
But in regards to how bad this show looks, I can't even really get passionate about how bad it looks just because it's not deserving of any of that energy,
Oh, totally.
But
I feel like everyone knows that the show is going to get canceled before its second season, except for the CW, But yeah, this ties into our question of the week. What is the worst Marvel or DC TV show you've ever seen?
There are a lot of turds out there, so pick your least favorite and let us know why. Record your answer at dynamicduel.com by clicking on the red microphone button in the bottom right-hand corner, which will prompt you to leave us a voicemail. Your message can be up to 30 seconds long, and don't forget to leave your name in case we include you on the podcast. We'll pick our favorite answer and award that person with a Dynamic Duel No Prize that we'll post to Instagram. Be sure to answer before June 10th. But I think that does it for all the news for this episode, so let's go ahead and get into our main event, where we find out who'd win in a fight between the Dark Universe character, the Batman Who Laughs, and the alternate universe Marvel character, Cosmic Ghost Rider. Alright, the Batman Who Laughs versus Cosmic Ghost Rider. As we mentioned earlier in this episode and in previous episodes, Jonathan and I wanted to find some of the best multiversal characters from Marvel and DC from alternate timelines and see if we could pit them in fun duels. We had a lot of fun ideas that we tossed around with our executive producers, including Batman Beyond versus Spider-Man 2099, which we did a few weeks ago. That was a lot of fun. But one of the characters that our executive producers threw out was the Batman Who Laughs, who was a character who recently appeared in the Dark Knights Death Metal event, and Cosmic Ghost Rider, who was a fairly recent addition in the Marvel multiverse. Basically, it's Frank Castle who obtained the Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance and became a Herald of Galactus. So it's like Punisher, Ghost Rider, and Silver Surfer in one character.
The Batman Who Laughs is Batman meets the Joker meets Dr. Manhattan. Though, as powerful as these characters are, it's still essentially Bruce Wayne versus Frank Castle, right? Batman versus the Punisher in their most powerful forms.
Yeah, so those of you who have been waiting for a Batman-Punisher fight, here it is. Although, amped up to 11.
For sure.
If you've never listened to one of our Duel episodes before, the way we determine a winner between these two characters is by running 1,000 Monte Carlo simulations using their statistics. A Monte Carlo simulation is a probabilistic model used to determine outcomes through random sampling.
And in our case, it randomizes statistics along a normal distribution, which is a bell curve, as a way to simulate the many variables that can occur during battle. The stat parameters we use are based on the official Marvel power grid, and we use that criteria to extrapolate the DC character stats. We've included some additional stat categories of our own, such as range, damage potential, versatility, and perception, in order to create a more complete and robust simulation.
Running these 1,000 simulations gives us a percentage of wins for each character, and we declare the one with the higher percentage to be the ultimate victor, considering that they're more likely to win any given battle. No character ever wins 100% of the time. Comics have shown that there's usually a way for Batman to defeat Superman, and we feel our method falls in line with the precedents that have been established in the comic book stories.
And we use this method because it was the least subjective, most unbiased way to determine who would win. Of course, we are both heavily biased toward our respective allegiances, so instead of debating these matches forever, we just let the math decide for us. So there's no fan votes here, and no relying on just feats.
Before we run the simulations, though, we like to break down each character's histories and abilities before improvising a scenario on how we imagine one of the 1,000 simulations we run would play out beat for beat. So let's go ahead and get into it. I believe it's my turn to go first with the Marvel character's backstory, so let me tell you all about Cosmic Ghost Rider. So decades into the future, in an alternate timeline, Thanos, the Mad Titan, whom you can learn more about in our Darkseid vs. Thanos Duel episode, began his final quest to kill every single thing throughout the universe, so only he would remain alive to see his mistress' death. One of his earliest conquests was planet Earth, where so many heroes lived that had stopped him before. One such hero was Frank Castle, aka the Punisher, whom you can learn more about in our Red Hood vs. Punisher episode. During Earth's great battle against Thanos, Frank was buried under the rubble of a fallen building and finally died after a long history of punishing evildoers. In his last moments, as he bled out, he vowed he would sell his soul for one last chance to punish Thanos for his actions, a vow that the elder demon Mephisto responded to. Mephisto bound the spirit of vengeance to Frank, resurrecting him as the new Ghost Rider. However, by the time Frank came back to the land of the living, ready to fight, Thanos' conquest was already complete, and Frank was all alone on an Earth that was completely decimated. He roamed the barren landscape for centuries, going mad and losing his mind as Thanos continued his deadly campaign across the universe. Eventually, Thanos had usurped enough power to be a threat to Galactus, the World Devourer himself, whom you can learn more about in our Spectre vs. Galactus duel. Galactus fled to Earth to recoup after being nearly killed by Thanos, where he met the wandering Ghost Rider, Frank. The two decided to team up in their desire to stop the Mad Titan, and Galactus turned Frank into one of his heralds, bestowing him with the power cosmic and transforming his Hell Cycle into a space Hell Cycle. With the power to burn whole worlds to the ground with his cosmic hellfire, Frank and Galactus hunted Thanos across the universe for over 1,000 years, in the process acquiring the crimson bones of the elder deity Cytorak, which were unbreakable bonds that Frank forged into his new cosmic hellfire chain. During Galactus' and Frank's hunt, however, Thanos raised galaxies and grew in power. In their final ambush, Thanos had enough might to sever Galactus' head and fought Frank to a stalemate, as neither could destroy the other. Instead, Thanos offered Frank's spirit of vengeance the opportunity to eliminate all the evil that remained in what was left of the universe if they joined together. Reluctantly, Frank accepted with the intent of betraying Thanos, but as they continued demolishing the last remaining galaxies alive, Frank's guilt caused him to slip even further into madness. The final remaining soul in existence for Thanos to kill ended up being the Silver Surfer, who had spent decades preparing for this final battle with the Mad Titan by working on becoming worthy to wield Thor's old hammer, Mjolnir. Wielding the enchanted hammer imbued with the power cosmic, Silver Surfer smashed Frank to pieces, and Frank, once again, died. In this afterlife, however, he did not return to Hell. His soul was seized by Odin, who believed Frank Castle deserved a warrior's hereafter in the halls of Valhalla. But Frank was a terror to his fellow berserkers, discontent without his slain family, and admitted to Odin that he always felt his death was his time to be punished for all the punishment he had dished out in his life. Odin then restored Frank his cosmic Ghost Rider powers and offered to send him to any point in history he wanted. Frank told him he wished to go back to the time of Thanos' infancy so he could kill the Mad Titan in his crib and save the universe from his evil tyranny. Frank discovered, however, that his cosmic penance stare did not work on the infant Thanos, and realizing the child's innocence, Frank decided to raise him not to be evil. Uatu the Watcher warned Frank that the idea of the Punisher raising Thanos was the worst thought that had ever entered anyone's mind since the beginning of thought itself. And this was proven by the time-traveling hero Cable and his Guardians of the Galaxy, who had come back in time to stop Frank from raising the young Thanos and preventing the future horrors that would cause. Joining the fight to protect Frank and baby Thanos against the Guardians, though, was grown-up Thanos himself, who traveled from the future dressed like the Punisher. Together, they defeated the Guardians, and Frank and baby Thanos were taken by Punisher Thanos to his future, which actually was a perfect utopia.
What?
Frank was relieved to see his choice to raise Thanos was a good one, until he realized that the utopia only existed because Thanos had grown into a dictator over society, punishing without mercy those who would not accept peace. Seeing the horrors that his own doctrine would have on the Mad Titan, Frank killed Punisher Thanos and returned baby Thanos back to his crib in his own timeline 616, accepting that the child would become a monster regardless. He learned at this time from a visit by Death that it was in fact these events in Thanos' early life that taught him about violence, murder, and death.
Damn.
Frank traveled to Earth and tried to prevent the murder of his family by the Costa Mauve in Central Park and to right other wrongs throughout Marvel's history. However, Uatu the Watcher stopped Frank and returned the timeline to its proper order. Frank then learned that Thanos had ultimately been killed by his daughter Gamora using the Infinity Sword, which you can learn more about in our Hawkgirl vs. Gamora Duel episode. He joined the Dark Guardians of the Galaxy after learning that Thanos had transferred his consciousness into another being before dying, and the team sought to find out who that was and hunt them down. It ended up being Thanos' own brother Star Fox, who now housed Thanos' consciousness, and in the ensuing fight, Frank was reduced to a pile of bones by Thanos' new Black Order and the Asgardian goddess of death, Hela. Frank went back to Hell, where the current ruler there, Johnny Blaze, revived him and sent him back out into the cosmos to punish evil once again. And that's Cosmic Ghost Rider's backstory. Powers-wise, Cosmic Ghost Rider has the combined abilities of the Punisher, Ghost Rider, and Silver Surfer. As the Punisher, he was one of the most trained individuals on the planet, and was an expert in hand-to-hand combat, knowing a wide variety of martial arts styles, and ranged combat, knowing every kind of firearm, special firearm, and explosive ordnance available to man. He was adept in military intelligence tactics, including reconnaissance, detection, infiltration, assassination, and extraction strategies. He was adept at employing stealth and camouflage and field medicine. With the powers of Ghost Rider, he wields Hellfire, which burns not just the physical self, but damages the spiritual self as well. He can project it from his head, hands, or whole body, or channel it into objects, such as his cosmic cycle, his pair of cosmic blasters, or mystical chains he can summon and control that are made from the unbreakable crimson bones of the mystic deity Cyttorak.
That's cool. That's really cool.
He wields the Penance Stare, which makes individuals experience the fear and pain they've caused in others when they make eye contact with the Rider. And he can also summon and control his cosmic cycle on command. With the power cosmic granted by Galactus, Cosmic Ghost Rider can project his energies on a wide scale, from a planet-destroying blast to a microscopic level that can affect matter at the molecular level. He can use the power cosmic to telekinetically wield and alter objects and create energy shields. As a former herald and spirit of vengeance, he's virtually indestructible, can travel at speeds faster than the speed of light, can lift in excess of 100 tons, has cosmic senses that can perceive things at telescopic and microscopic distances, and can sense energy signatures that make him an expert galactic tracker. In addition to these abilities, Cosmic Ghost Rider can cosmically project his consciousness to remotely possess beings or inanimate objects.
I'm not impressed by any of that.
He's like super powerful, can do like almost anything. I don't understand how the Batman Who Laughs could possibly go up against this guy.
Really?
Thanos himself, who had just got done killing Galactus, admitted that he could not kill Cosmic Ghost Rider. So,
you know who can?
Who?
Fucking the Batman Who Laughs. Let me tell you all about him.
Right. Okay.
To tell the story of the Batman Who Laughs, you have to understand the dark multiverse. And to do that, you have to know how everything began. Within the greater Omniverse exist godlike beings known as the Hands, since from their bare hands, entire multiverses are formed. The DC multiverse was formed from the hand of a being known as Perpetua, who generated the three fundamental fabrics of existence: dark matter, positive matter, and antimatter. Dark matter was pure chaos, full of unlimited potential. Positive matter was orderly and constant, and antimatter destroyed everything it touched. From this material, Perpetua formed three sons: Alpheus, the World Forger, who used dark matter to create new universes; Mar-Novu, the Monitor, who looked after these universes of positive matter; and Mobius, the Anti-Monitor, tasked with destroying any universe close to breaching the greater Omniverse. With Perpetua's job complete, she was supposed to pass on, but she refused, intending to experiment and evolve a race of alpha soldiers capable of defeating the other Hands and taking over the other multiverses. The Monitor realized what his mother was doing, and with his brother's help, built a giant tuning fork that contacted a judge from the Omniverse. This judge imprisoned Perpetua inside of a wall made up of her own legions, forming the Source Wall that separated the multiverse from the Omniverse. With the Anti-Monitor's job made obsolete, he vowed to kill his brother, the Monitor, and destroy the multiverse. And that, of course, led to the Crisis on Infinite Earths. But while his brothers were distracted, Alpheus, the World Forger, was killed by his pet dragon, Barbados, who was responsible for destroying malformed and unstable universes before they ascended to the multiverse. With the World Forge left unsupervised, in its place, a dark multiverse formed, including one universe designated Earth -22, which progressed much like the Prime DC universe, primarily for Batman, who you can learn more about in our Batman vs. Moon Knight episode. The main difference in this universe was that the Joker learned that the chemicals that formed him had also given him cancer and he was dying. Wanting the rest of the world to die with him, Joker systematically killed the rest of Batman's villains and paralyzed the hero, forcing him to watch as he injected all the children of a hospital with Joker venom after murdering the kids' parents in front of them. Traumatized and furious, Batman recovered and snapped the Joker's neck, killing him, unknowingly activating a trigger in the Joker's heart that caused him to exhale Joker venom with his dying breath right onto Batman, which was the Joker's plan all along. No one realized what had happened initially. Batman just occasionally chuckled at inappropriate times. But when the Bat family visited the Batcave together to check on him, Batman killed all of them with machine guns, except for his son Damian, who he turned into a Jokerized version of Robin, one of many as he turned the Jokerized children from the hospital into his Robin army. Within 2 weeks of the Joker's death, Batman had killed the entire Justice League, including Superman, who he exposed to black kryptonite along with his son Jonathan, driving both insane and causing them to kill Lois and each other. It wasn't long after the rest of the world fell to this Batman who laughs. With the entire Earth -22 planet Jokerized and dying, the dragon Barbados noticed what the Batman who laughs had done. Barbados saved the Batman who laughs from Earth -22 before devouring it, and he showed the Batman who laughs the rest of the Dark Multiverse, expressing his desire to destroy everything, including the positive matter universe, just like how the Batman who laughs destroyed his home planet. The Batman who laughs agreed to be Barbados' lieutenant and scoured the Dark Multiverse for an army, recruiting the most evil and most powerful Batman in dark existence, primarily versions who acquired abilities very similar to the primary universe's Justice League, whom he named the Dark Knights. In the primary universe, the Court of Owls, a secret cabal that operated in Gotham City and worshipped Barbados as a bat god, managed to summon the Batman who laughs, who killed the heads of the court with his Robins before unleashing his Dark Knights on Earth. The Batman who laughs invaded Arkham Asylum, giving some of Batman's worst villains playing cards made of dark metal that allowed them to warp reality. While Earth's heroes were distracted, the Batman who laughs captured the Monitor, who he planned on linking with the dead Anti-Monitor's brain, which would destroy all of existence, including the multiverse and Dark Multiverse. His plan was hampered by heroes from across the multiverse, however, and in order to put a stop to the Batman who laughs, who was capable of predicting actions with his dark metal visor, Batman teamed up with the Joker, something completely unpredictable, and the two of them caused a cave-in that buried the Batman who laughs, before the rest of the heroes destroyed Barbados. Though he was believed to be dead, the Batman who laughs survived the cave-in and allowed himself to be captured by the Legion of Doom, whom he told all about Perpetua and the origins of the multiverse. Then, with the help from the Grim Knight, who is a dark multiverse version of Batman, who's like Batman meets the Punisher, essentially. Okay. They went after the Joker, who fled to Batman for protection, though it was all a ruse in an attempt to turn Batman into the Batman who laughs by having Joker commit suicide next to Batman. The plan nearly worked, but Batman was saved by Alfred and a young Bruce Wayne from another universe before the Jokerization took effect. In response, Batman nearly beat the Batman who laughs to death before locking him in a dungeon in the Hall of Justice. Prior to being imprisoned, however, the Batman who laughs sent dark metal batarangs laced with Joker venom to 6 heroes around the planet, taking control of them and eventually 666 superheroes total. While the other heroes were distracted, the Batman who laughs escaped his prison and was soon captured by Lex Luthor, now the evolved Apex Lex, the lieutenant of Perpetua, who by this time had escaped her prison in the Source Wall. Lex gifted powers to an army of villains, which defeated the Batman who laughs superhero army after Lex cured the Batman who laughs and everyone else of their Jokerization. When Lex brought the Batman who laughs before Perpetua, however, the Batman who laughs convinced Perpetua that he would be a better lieutenant than Lex due to Lex's ego and his own knowledge of the Dark Multiverse, which Perpetua saw as a threat. After Lex was depowered and sent back to Earth, both Perpetua and the Batman who laughs laughed as his Jokerization returned. With Perpetua's help, the Batman Who Laughs took over the Earth and reshaped it into his own image. Wonder Woman rebelled over his rule, however, and killed him with an invisible chainsaw. The Batman Who Laughs planned for this, however, and had his brain transferred into the body of a Dark Universe version of Bruce Wayne that had undergone the same experimental accident that Dr. Manhattan had in the Watchmen universe. You can learn more about Dr. Manhattan in his duel against Molecule Man. With near omnipotent power, the Batman Who Laughs became the Darkest Knight, and while powered up with crisis energy stolen from Wally West, the Flash, he killed Perpetua. However, Wonder Woman, who was imbued with pure molten dark matter after visiting the World Forge, fought the Batman Who Laughs throughout time, going all the way back to creation at Perpetua's hand, where he offered Wonder Woman the chance to be his right-hand woman, to which Wonder Woman responded by using Perpetua's hand to punch the Batman Who Laughs to the end of time, where he was then knocked into the last sun before it exploded and all existence in the multiverse ended. The Batman Who Laughs died, and the past of the multiverse was saved. Powers-wise, the Batman Who Laughs became nigh omnipotent after putting his brain into a Dr. Manhattan-type body. He can create multiple versions of himself and generate and manipulate darkness, even into dark constructs. He can also manipulate, emit, and corrupt energy, and he can traverse space and time instantly. He can alter his size and shape, and has telekinesis. Even before his Batmanhattan powers, the Batman Who Laughs possessed dark metal playing cards capable of warping reality. Thanks to his dark metal visor, he's able to see his enemies' darkest fears as well as their intentions and urges. He's a more competent martial artist than the primary Batman, and he uses an assortment of deadly weapons including guns and blades, many of which are laced with Joker venom that can drive others insane and succumb them to his control. Having spent lifetimes traversing the dark multiverse, he also possesses a vast array of knowledge. He's essentially a god, as it were, one capable of killing the actual god Perpetua who created the multiverse. So, fucking good luck!
Dude, that was convoluted as shit. I don't even know what you said. I got confused.
There's a multiverse, alright? And then, like, the upside down in Stranger Things, there's the dark multiverse. And outside of all of that is the Omniverse.
Okay.
It's not that hard. It's not that hard.
Okay. Wait, so dark matter warps reality.
Think of dark matter almost like imagination, where anything is possible. Positive matter is that imagination solidified, and antimatter is the destruction of matter.
Is there also doesn't matter, which is like everything that you just said, because I didn't understand it?
No, there's not.
Well, now that we got the Batman Who Laughs and Cosmic Ghost Rider's histories and their abilities out of the way, let's speculate on how one of the 1,000 simulated matches we run will go. The winner is determined by simulations, not the speculation, but it is fun to imagine how the fight could play out.
Now, we don't set any rules for this match other than the characters don't know anything about each other going in, except that the other character is a threat that needs to be put down. And we say that they start off about 50 meters apart in an environment that has no bearing on the match itself, because we don't take stats for the environment.
Plus, certain characters have advantages in some environments over others, and we want these characters to win on their own merits. So let's get into it. The Batman Who Laughs and Cosmic Ghost Rider meet on the battlefield. Who goes first? I'm going to say that Cosmic Ghost Rider goes first because, he's faster. He has the space cycle. So he's just going to rev that thing up and freaking plow right through the Batman Who Laughs, turning him into space ash before Batman even could process what's happening.
You think Cosmic Ghost Rider is faster than the Batman Who Laughs?
Yeah.
That's a stretch. That's a huge stretch, okay?
Why?
Because Batman Who Laughs can traverse space and time in an instant. So he's not faster, but it's fine. I'll let Cosmic Ghost Rider go first. But once Cosmic Ghost Rider thinks about driving through Batman's going to see his intention through his dark metal visor and know exactly what he's going to do. So just before Ghost Rider crashes into him, Batman's going to scatter his being into 1,000 bats, which quickly reform over the cosmic bike, and Batman's just going to generate this long shadowy scythe that slices the back end of the bike right off. Just clean cut.
You getting rid of the bike that quickly?
Yep, it's a crutch.
Okay. Doesn't matter. Ghost Rider's going to leap off the front half of his cosmic cycle while it's traveling at light speed, and he's going to pull out his 2 Hellfire blasters, which are these futuristic handguns that shoot cosmic hellfire, and he's just going to gun down Batman, turning the guy into Swiss cheese. And the Hellfire burns not only through his dark energy physical form, but it's going to burn Batman's very soul. So he's in a shit ton of pain.
Okay, but I mean, Batman saw this attack coming too. So, like, as soon as the holes are shot into him, he's just going to reform that portion of his body. And then from his body, he's going to shoot out, like, 50 dark metal batarangs that embed themselves into Ghost Rider's body. And they're laced with Joker venom. So it starts to drive Ghost Rider crazy and, like, put him under control of Batman.
Newsflash, I don't think Ghost Rider could be poisoned, first of all.
Okay.
But also, like, Ghost Rider, he can manipulate metal objects, not just with his Hellfire. Like, we see him do it with guns and, like, shotguns, turning them into Hellfire shotguns and stuff like that. But he could also manipulate objects with his Power Cosmic at the molecular level. So as this, like, barrage of batarangs are approaching him, Ghost Rider is just going to channel that Hellfire into the batarangs, and they're just going to ignite and zip right around, pull a U-turn, and turn into, like, these hellish bat shapes that fly right into Batman and set him ablaze.
Well, I don't think Batman could be set on fire because, again, his form is like dark energy. You know, he's just going to snuff out the flames with his darkness. Plus, he could transmute matter as well. So actually, he's going to transform these, like, Hellbats into an army of, like, Shadow Robins, which are like these impish demon children that he's going to unleash on Ghost Rider, and they're just going to, like, bite his ankles and gouge out his eyes.
Impish Shadow Robins. Well, that's when Ghost Rider is just going to pull out his chain, his Cytorak bone chain, and he's going to whip it around, and it's going to snake around and tie up each of these Shadow Robins, and the whole group is going to be chained up like a pack of ravenous dogs on a leash. And Ghost Rider's going to, like, whip them like they were a dog sled team, you know? And he's going to drive them around the Batman Who Laughs, circling around him and wrapping Batman up in the chains, trapping him in this unbreakable snare because Ghost Rider's chain can't be broken.
Okay, so Batman's tied up with, like, all of these Robins now?
Yeah.
He's just going to absorb those Shadow Robins, like, back into his dark form. And then he's just going to go intangible. He's going to, like, just walk right through the chains that were binding him. At which point, he's going to begin growing, like, massive to, like, the size of a planet. And he's going to pick Ghost Rider up and, like, laughing, he's just going to swallow him whole.
Well, that's not very smart. The giant Batman's laugh is going to stop short when he gets freaking blasted apart in this Hellfire blast that set off, like, a megaton nuclear level explosion. So Batman's, like, atomized. He's gone, and all you see is this, like, giant Hellfire mushroom cloud with Ghost Rider at the center of it.
Okay, again, Batman saw this coming, so he was prepared for it. So you see this Hellfire mushroom cloud, right? And then suddenly you're going to see it turn black, and then it's going to, like, reverse itself back into Ghost Rider where it came from. Batman has corrupted Ghost Rider's Hellfire and Power Cosmic, so now instead of fire, like, Ghost Rider's skull is just now emitting, like, this black smoke. He's, like, super sick, and he's dying without his power. Batman is just, like, behind him, laughing.
Where did Batman come from? He got fucking atomized.
Teleportation, power corruption, he pulled out the works.
But now Batman's standing right behind Ghost Rider as he's dying?
Laughing at him.
Well, that's the last fucking mistake he's ever going to do, because Ghost Rider's going to spin around and rip off Batman's dark metal visor and do the penance stare. He's going to activate his penance stare and just make Batman experience the pain of all the victims and all the death he's caused throughout his life. And that's going to be so bad that Batman just erupts in this violent burst of flames that just, like, burn and kill him 1,000 times over. There's no way he could get out of that. Match is over.
I don't get why Cosmic Ghost Rider just didn't do that to Thanos. Like, if it's that easy.
He did do it to Thanos, but Thanos revels in the pain of his victims.
Well, I mean, the Batman Who Laughs still feels pain. I'm pretty sure he does. So sure, yeah, I'm going to say he explodes into flames. But this is going to be, like, a bigger, more massive explosive blast than you even know, okay? Like, similar to when Dr. Manhattan was first atomized, but, like, on a universal scale. So, like, this massive blast also is going to kill Ghost Rider and probably, like, the rest of the universe, right? So Ghost Rider is dead, and Batman, his body is just going to reform a few months later, like Dr. Manhattan. So in the end, the Batman Who Laughs wins.
Well, if there's no more universe, then where does Batman reform, right?
Wherever he fucking wants, the dark multiverse.
I think you went overboard on how big this explosion was that killed Batman. Like, it was big, but it wasn't big enough to, destroy Ghost Rider. So
It was definitely big enough to destroy Ghost Rider. Maybe not the universe. Maybe a little pocket of it is still there for him to reform in. But yeah, Ghost Rider's gone.
Well, agree to disagree. We'll go ahead and leave the match there. Either the explosion caused when the Batman Who Laughs was penance-stared was so large that it destroyed Ghost Rider, or it wasn't and just Batman died.
It was.
But we'll go ahead and input the stats for these guys and run the simulations and come back with the winner and find out which scenario happened. All right, so how long did the Batman Who Laughs have the power of Dr. Manhattan?
He had it the entire final run of Darkest Knights Death Metal. I think that comic series only had 7 issues total, but there were other tie-in issues, and he had it then as well.
And Wonder Woman was able to kill him?
Yes. She was able to go toe-to-toe with him. He died because the multiverse ceased to exist.
Okay, I don't know what that means, but all I know is that the Batman Who Laughs was way more powerful than I thought he was going to be. But Cosmic Ghost Rider in himself is insanely powerful. He is a mad powerhouse.
Yeah, no, Cosmic Ghost Rider is powerful, but the Batman Who Laughs is one of the most powerful characters we've ever put stats in for. Which makes sense, because this guy could take on Darkseid. He took on everybody and won, except for Wonder Woman.
Yeah, I mean, both of their stats were almost maxed out. But when you look at things like intellect, Batman was smarter. Fighting skill, we said that since he was better than the main DC Universe's Bruce Wayne, he's got to be better than Frank Castle. And due to his larger power set, we said he was more versatile than Cosmic Ghost Rider. And he could go intangible, whereas I never seen Cosmic Ghost Rider do that. So, there were quite a few stats that Batman came out ahead on in those particular categories where Cosmic Ghost Rider himself wasn't maxed out, like in speed, durability, strength, damage, range, all that good stuff.
Yeah, so Cosmic Ghost Rider did match the Batman Who Laughs stats in quite a number of categories, but there was not a single category where he came out on top stat-wise. So I'm pretty sure you know who wins this.
Do I?
I do. I'm pretty sure it's the Batman Who Laughs, despite the fact that our Instagram followers didn't think that was going to be the case. I could only assume that none of them had read the Death Metal event where he became Dr. Manhattan. 53% of them said that Cosmic Ghost Rider would win.
Well, maybe they just didn't know you were going with the Darkest Knight version of the character.
But I had to, because there's no way that he could have taken on Cosmic Ghost Rider without his Batman Manhattan powers.
That's right. I want you to remember that. I want you to remember that now and for the rest of your life as I give the results of this match.
I've already forgotten.
The winner of this week's match between the Batman Who Laughs and Cosmic Ghost Rider is the Batman Who Laughs.
Heck yes, it was. Heck yes.
Batman Who Laughs won 765 matches out of the 1,000 battles, whereas Cosmic Ghost Rider only won a paltry 235. So it's about 3/4 of the time that Batman Who Laughs wins.
Honestly, I think the Batman Who Laughs would beat Dr. Manhattan because, he's a better fighter than him. I think he's smarter than him, possibly. It's hard to say when you're, practically omniscient. But, yeah, I'm not surprised by these results. The Batman Who Laughs totally stomps.
But remember, kids, it's only because Jonathan decided to cheat by making it the Darkest Knight version of the Batman Who Laughs.
Dude, his old body died. In his new body, I'm just going to ignore that he has a new body?
Yeah. Yes.
Why? Why would I do that?
Because that way Cosmic Ghost Rider wins. Okay. Obviously. Okay. Obviously.
I mean, even without his Batman Manhattan powers, he's still formidable. He could still warp reality. He could still do all kinds of shit. So Cosmic Ghost Rider may not have come out as far ahead on top as you think, maybe.
I mean, not if he was taken out by a powerless Batman and Joker, so let's be real here.
He survived that, though. Whatever. At the end of the day, you know what? It's Batman who has the last laugh.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Fuck you. That's what Cosmic Ghost Rider says. He actually cusses a lot in the comic books. It's kind of funny. It's all bleeped out, but it's a fun read.
I actually think that these results are pretty similar to what an actual fight between Batman and Punisher would really be like, too. Just want to put that out there.
You're way off base there. Yeah. But that does it for this duel. Let us know what you guys thought about the results by writing to us at dynamicduelpodcast@gmail.com or by visiting us on Instagram or Twitter. You can find links to all of our accounts by checking out our show notes or visiting our website, dynamicduel.com.
And on our site, you can also find a link to our Patreon page where we offer ad-free episodes of the show via a custom RSS feed, bonus content, including top 10 episodes and bloopers, monthly live movie watch-alongs, and access to our Discord server. Again, check it out right after this episode, like right now, at patreon.com/dynamicduel, linked in our show notes. Our lowest tier is only $2 a month.
Yeah, if you guys sign up for our Patreon, you'll get to listen to a rap song that I made of Jonathan saying Batman is a piece of shit. So that's pretty cool. That's worth checking out.
Is it? Was it? I don't think so.
Our next episode, we are going to do a duel episode where we pit Miss Martian against Hulkling from the Young Avengers. And that duel will eventually kick off our path toward a Young Justice versus Young Avengers team duel for episode 300. So look forward to that, guys. That does it for this episode. We want to give a big thanks to our executive producers, John Speas, Ken Johnson, John Starosky, Zachary Hepburn, Dustyn Balcom, Miggy Matanguihan, Brandon Estergard, Ariana Cuadra, Nathaniel Wagner, Levi Yeaton, Austin Wesolowski, and Nick Abanto for helping make this podcast possible.
And we'll talk to you guys next week. Up, and away.
True believers.